Welcome to Cosmic Conversations, where space, science, and future frontiers collide.
Because the telescopes had high sodium pressure filters, and it would filter out our man-made light, which didn't pollute their results, right? And now they have to coordinate with SpaceX to try to get a good shot of the stars on certain parts. So there can be a pollution not only on the planet, but there can be a pollution in orbit that kind of locks you on the planet.
And SpaceX actually has more satellites than anyone else right now, right?
Now it's an unreal what they have.
And it's like not only not more than America, but the whole world, right?
Yeah, and they did some things like DirectX had a spectrum that they licensed and they just took it. Like where were you FCC? They're like, nah, we're just going to use this, even though these other companies own that or were supposed to. But it's just one of those things that it's an unregulated area, right? You need to get a permission to launch from America or wherever, but anybody can if you got enough money.
Yeah.
Anybody can build a CubeSat and if you want, get someone to deploy it. Companies do it all the time. So I do think about that. Like if you wanted to keep going to Mars, you would have to constantly blast off supplies, and it wouldn't be realistic. Whereas the moon, you could figure out maybe a reasonable logistics to get stuff there. But we'll see. I don't think it would ever happen. The space elevator is a great concept. Why not? Think about it.
I went to a pitch competition maybe 3 or 4 years ago. This guy actually pitched a space escalator.
Right.
And we're like, get the fuck out of it. But like he was like, oh shit, that makes sense. Like
material science has changed things.
Yeah.
Like steel can't do it, but carbon, they figured out. Like, they probably could.
Yeah.
The concept.
They're like, can this work? Like,
it was really interesting to think about that. There's much smarter people. I like to surround myself with people that are way smarter than me because they're the ones figuring out that this is possible in the first place. But I think right now it's once again pushing a little bit of innovation, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
The self-landing rocket that was patented in the 80s, that's nothing new. Kerosene,
that's what people don't realize. Nothing in tech is new, right?
And there's not much.
Like AI has been around since the 50s, I think, right?
I mean, physics is stagnant. Actually, it's a problem in academia.
Mm-hmm.
It's publish or perish, right?
And you think about Einstein gave his theories of relativity E mc squared back in the 1910, 1912.
Yeah, he started working on the 1890s.
And it's nothing's really came out since then, right?
Actually, so Sabine, she's a physicist, a particle physicist, and educator on YouTube. Great channel.
Mm.
And she's got a lot of insights on this. The reality is, like, nothing new in physics has happened. And right now, papers are just full of AI junk because if you don't publish, you don't make any money. So they'll come up with new theories of this with no foundations. Just they don't make any sense, or it's just a lie. It's not vetted. And there is a problem right now. Like particle physicists, they want to just build a bigger particle smasher. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, we think this particle's here, and we need a bigger smash. Like, no. And she tears into that, and she was like, we have reached the limit on some things, and it's now starting to show.
How about things like string theory, dark matter? Are those things like really real, or just like theories?
I wish some of those things would be cool, but I would like to think that she points out all the reasons why they're not.
Mm-hmm.
As neat as string theory is, I mean, the people that really go about that, they tear into it. It's a fun idea to think about, but no, it just required making things that weren't true to happen.
So I have to ask, like, a lot of stuff is like unproven theories. Like, I think a lot of science is like based on theories they can't prove, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's supposed to be a good idea. Maybe you've got some kind of concepts, and some things aren't provable. Like the whole system of math itself as a foundation is not provable on certain things. It's a crazy concept. But math also wasn't invented by man; it was discovered.
So let me ask you this, right? So throughout history, there was smart people, right?
Yeah.
And there's smart people at the time, but then later on they're proven to be wrong, right? Like before if we used to think Earth was like the center of the universe, you can keep on going on, all right? So what do you think that right now we all think is like 100% fact that's going to be proven to be wrong in the future?
I think a lot of the concepts of individuality in your mind are going to be proven wrong. It's already happened. So in philosophy, there's arguments about, do you see the same red that I see, right? just in Colorado, there's some really interesting stuff going on where they can transfer thoughts from one person to another, and they have actually done that. They're like, hey, the guy transferred the
All these people on fucking LSD or something or psychedelics.
no, I mean not really. But it's I mean they can kind of visualize what you're dreaming about. They've got machine. They can do these things now. It's as a matter of fact, the DoD wrote a paper about the future security because you can get information from someone while they're sleeping, and there's nothing you can do about it. But the concept of you being a complete individual that is so unique, like my version of red is so different than yours. Well, they just had a guy think red, and the other guy was like, "You're thinking about red." So
Man.
it's not so unique. It turns out red is red, right? And I like to think that the things we're going to be discovering are going to be about the brain. That's where we're going to really start getting into, what is. I mean, we build neural networks with computers to try to symbolize what the brain is doing. And AI is now getting really, really good at what it's doing. Especially with emotional intelligence, it's crazy. AI has better emotional intelligence than most humans.
So, do you think tech can solve every problem there is?
No, that's the human condition. Tech's never going to solve love. Tech's never going to solve. I mean, maybe you hear about these AI robot girlfriends and boyfriends and stuff. But I don't. That's loving a thing. That's not being loved, right? And I don't think technology can solve that. I think only human beings can figure out to love themselves and how to love someone else.
What's something crazy with tech or science you're thinking that is going to happen in the next 50, 100 years?
Longevity. The more we know about the body, the more we can fix. There's a good possibility that we'll be able to get copy consciousness in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, for me, I think it's gonna be like back in the day, I'll make this up. It took like 6 months to travel from England to the United States.
Yeah.
Now it takes like a 6-hour flight. I think in the future, like it takes like we'll say like I'm making this up. Say it takes like 6 months to travel from here to Mars. It's gonna take like 6 hours in the future, right? We're gonna figure out some physics or something. Maybe find wormholes. I think we're gonna increase that.
Well, I mean, wormholes maybe. We haven't found that
Engine
yet.
propulsion, something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and there is a limit. So that's the limits. The faster something goes, the more energy you need. No matter can go the speed of light because it will become infinitely large to do so.
Yeah.
But photons are an interesting thing, even in themselves. Like, it's crazy to think that the photon itself, doesn't matter how far away it was, it could be 1 billion light years away. It took 1 billion years for it to come here and hit our telescope or hit our eyes. For the photon, it was instantaneous. For the photon, it just came into being, and then it struck my eye. But for everything else around the photon, it took 1 billion years for it to get here. And then Einstein talks about, action at a spooky distance, which gets argued about, quantum entanglement and things like that. So I think that we do know physical limits of speed. I think that's one of the things. Physics has gotten really good at what it is, and there's not very much new physics.
So with that, like, is there really a limit? Like, and I know it's not the same thing, right? But back in the day, they said no one can break the 4-minute mile. But now people are like, 13, 14 years old are breaking 4 minutes, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's a possibility, like, in the future, someone's going to figure out how to break all these limits?
I think energy sources will change things. If fusion ever did take off, then you can have you can throw a lot of energy at something to get an achievement. So like, almost everything you want to do comes down to energy cost, right? It's not that we can't do these things. It's just that the amount of energy required to do it doesn't make sense. So when energy becomes free, you'd also get a free society. Money wouldn't mean anything anymore because effort wouldn't mean anything anymore because you could just throw energy at it. And it's kind of like the concept of Star Trek. Nobody gets paid in Star Trek. You just live, right? But they have free energy and unlimited energy. And it could be that maybe we do figure out some new fuel types, but Honestly, I think we know about a little bit of our limits as far as what can be done.